Hi, everyone. All right, Daniel chapter 11. This is lesson number 3. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you watch lesson number 1, Revelation chapter 17, and lesson number 2, Revelation chapter 18, because they build on top of each other. Now, here we are. This is the big one, Daniel chapter 11. Enjoy, write down any thoughts, impressions, and questions, and then as you go along through the first 6 lessons, those are the foundational ones. You want to watch every one of those lessons in order. But then, if you have questions left over, we have a great foundation to be able to look at those questions. But I think you're going to find that you get a lot of questions answered as you go along. All right, enjoy the clip. It was done like 5 years ago or so, but the information is so relevant today. So enjoy, and please make a comment, like the video, because that helps to spread the word out there. We want everyone to see this, so appreciate that. All right, God bless. Enjoy. Hello, you wonderful sons and daughters of God, my brothers and sisters. Great to have you here. As you can see, we're going to be studying Daniel chapter 11. And it is so huge, it's so big, it's so important. Yeah, I can't wait to share it with you because, this is going to be a feast for your faith in Christ. It's wonderful. So let's go ahead and just talk about what are we going to be covering out here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Daniel chapter 11 is the greatest foundational chapter out of all the Bible. That's a big claim. No other chapter covers such a vast amount of time with as much detail, all in chronological order, without any major time gaps. There's always a prophetic person and or event all along the way. It starts to be fulfilled in 1925 and it ends with the return of Christ in power and glory. There is, within many kings, a succession of 8 kings leading up to the return of Christ in power and glory. We learn which country the first 4 kings rule. The United States is referenced during this very moment in time. There's a major clue as to which king sets up the worldwide monetary system. And there is a major clue as to when the 8th king gets the power, seat, and authority of Satan. This is a big chapter. This is so important. And there's a lot more information that we get out of this chapter too. But right there, that's enough to say, I want to see it. I want to know that. And I'm going to show it to you. I'm excited to show it to you. Okay, so now, Daniel chapter 11 on this chart here. On this chart, this is Daniel chapter 11 over here. And what I say is that the chart is to help you to remember the scriptures. And it's the Holy Ghost that is to teach you about the scriptures. So keep a prayer in your heart and let's get started with Daniel chapter 11. I'm going to go ahead and get this changed up right over to here. Here we go. So Daniel chapter 11 starts off in verse 1 that there's this angel that is talking to Daniel. So it says, it's an angel, in the first year of Darius the king, even I stood to confirm and strengthen him. And now I will shew thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia. So where's Persia? Today, Iran is Persia. Persia changed its name back in like 1935, I think. And so, it talks about there's going to be these 3 kings in Persia, and then the 4th king shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength and through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. So let's go ahead and just go back right over here to the chart for a second, and let's look at a couple of things. As you're going to learn, Daniel chapter 11 talks about these 4 kings. The 4th one goes to battle. He gets defeated. His kingdom is split up into a kingdom of the south and a kingdom of the north. Within the kingdom of the north, there's these 4 kings that lead up to the return of Christ in power and glory. So here's a succession of 8 kings. Now in Revelation chapter 17, we read about a succession of 8 kings as well. We talked about that in the first clip. And in that first clip, we showed how the 8th king gets the power, seat, and authority of Satan and goes to fight against Christ when Christ returns. And we're going to see that the same thing, this king over here gets the power, seat, and authority of Satan, goes fight against Christ. We find that in Revelation chapter 17, the 7th king continues for a short space. We're going to see that this king only lives for a few days. So this is really important to follow along in Daniel chapter 11 and pick up as much information as we can to help us in our journey to understand what's coming up leading up to the return of Christ in power and glory. And right now, what we had learned that there's a succession of these 4 kings, and the 4th one is far richer than they all. So then, let's go ahead and go right over here. And what we find is that we have Kamini right here, and before him there was 3 other leaders. These 3 other leaders were worth maybe $1 to $3 billion each. But look at how rich Kamini is. Kamini is worth over $95 billion, and that was in 2013. In 2016, Obama and Biden, they flew over to Kamini $150 billion. I heard it was $152 billion, but we won't get into that. Anyways, a lot of money on top of the $93 billion, but that was in 2013. And he's made a lot more money since 2013 to now. So anyways, he is far richer than the first 3 kings. Okay. So then the question comes back to, all right, so who is the realm of Grecia? Who's Grecia? Well, Grecia is a country in which Iran is stirring up everybody against, the 4th king. Who is the 4th king? Who is Kamini stirring up everybody against? If you go to presstv.com, that's the Iranian-owned news agency, almost every day you'll see articles about Kamini or the others beating up or stirring up everybody against who? The United States. Yeah, us. Almost every day. So then the question is that why did the angel tell John about 2,500 years ago that we're called Grecia? Why didn't he say the United States? Well, I think that wasn't a very important thing for Daniel to know back then. But we can see today why he would call us Grecia. Because what's the welcoming image of the United States? And what does our buildings look like over in Washington, D.C. area? Yeah, look at this. Statue of Liberty looks like a Greek goddess. And then you look at the White House with the pillars, and then also the Supreme Court building and all these statues. And you can see a lot more over there in Washington, D.C. We are the Grecia spoken of in Daniel chapter 11, verse 2. Grecia references the United States, and it's regarding the United States during the time that Khomeini is stirring up everybody against the United States, which is this moment in time now. Now, in the next clip, we get to Daniel chapter 8, and in Daniel chapter 8, there's another reference of not only Grecia, but the leader of Grecia. So we're talking the United States, the leader of the United States is referenced over there in Daniel chapter 8. It is phenomenal. So we're going to be getting to that in the next clip. But now here we are. We're in this clip. And let's go ahead and continue to read and find out what's going on here. So in verse 3, it says, "And a mighty king shall stand up." This is still Khomeini. This is the fourth king. "That shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will." And Khomeini is doing that, isn't he? Yes, he is. "And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken." So now we find that there's going to be this battle between Khomeini and the United States, Grecia. And Khomeini, he gets broken. And Iran is going to be divided towards the four winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up even for others besides those. So Khomeini is out of power. His kingdom is split up into at least two kingdoms. What we read about in verse 5 is a kingdom of the south. In verse 6, we read about a kingdom of the north. Let's go ahead and read those. "And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion, and his dominion shall be a great dominion. And in the end of the years they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement, but she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand, nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her, and he that begat her, and he that brought her." Okay, he that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. All right, so let's go back over to the chart here for a second. Get over here to the chart and get right there. All right, so this chart over here, what we're finding is that this king of the south sends over his daughter over to the king of the north, and the king of the north kills the daughter and those that brought her, and he also kills the king of the south. This is huge. This is a bold move. And this is not immediately after when the kingdom of the south comes into existence and the kingdom of the north. It's years after they have been in power here. So how many years? 5 years? 6, 10? I don't know, but we're going to find out. So now that that the king of the north had killed the daughter, killed the king of the south, what do you think the kingdom of the south is going to do about all this? You guessed it. Kingdom of the south is going to attack. Let's go ahead and read verse 7 over here. "But out of the branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail." So the king of the south, the new king of the south, attacks the kingdom of the north, and he prevails. How big? How much? Look at verse 8. "And shall carry away captive into Egypt." So now we know the kingdom of the south includes a country that is referenced here as Egypt. Is it really Egypt? Well, when Iran gets split up into two kingdoms, we'll see what the kingdom of the south boundaries is. And that's going to be this Egypt area that he's referencing. So, and shall carry captive into Egypt their gods and their princes and their precious vessels of silver and gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. So now we know that the new king of the south outlives the king of the north, the first king of the north. So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom and shall return into his own land. Well, now what happens though? We have, but his sons, this is the king of the north sons, shall be stirred up and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through, then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress. All right. Now it gets kind of interesting here. So let's go, just take a break. Let's take a look over here and see what's going on. So, king of the north kills the daughter and those that brought her, and the king of the south. And then he goes back over to the kingdom of the north, and the new king of the south comes over and attacks and takes vessels of silver and gold and their gods and their princes and come back over here. And eventually the king of the north dies. And then his sons get really riled up, and one of the sons goes over and attacks the king of the south area and has a successful attack, but then comes back, and now the king of the south, he's going to attack. All right, with him attacking, let's see what happens. So let's go back over to Daniel chapter 11, and we're going to pick it up on verse 11. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even the king of the north. And he shall set forth a great multitude. The king of the north sets forth a great multitude. But the multitude from the kingdom of the north shall be given into the kingdom of the south's hands. And when he hath taken away the multitude, so when the king of the south has taken away the multitude of the kingdom of the north, the king's heart of the king of the south's heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s, but he shall not be strengthened by it. How can you kill many tens of thousands and not be strengthened by it? Let's find out. Verse 13. For the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years, with a great army and with much riches. This verse is so important. It's such a big, giant clue to us, because we're looking to find out which of the 7 kings. So these 7 kings, here we have them. Which of the 7 kings is in power when the evil monetary system worldwide is set up? In Revelation chapter 13, it tells us that one of the 7 kings gets a deadly wound and yet lives. And he's the one that has the worldwide monetary system set up, and that he controls it. So with that in mind, and we know that it can't be the first 5 kings, well, because the first 4 kings, the 4th one is Kamini, and the worldwide monetary system isn't set up now with Kamini in power, and he's in his 80s, and we're not about to give him power over a monetary system. And it can't be the 5th king, because the 5th king gets his vessels of silver and gold taken from him. So he's not in power when the monetary system is set up. And as we alluded to with the seventh king, he is only king for a few days. So obviously he's not the one that has a monetary system set up. He's not in power long enough to do that. So it has to be the sixth king. And now what we've read, though, is in Daniel chapter 11, verse 13. And let's see here. Ooh, I did do that. I just lost that arrow. In verse 13, we read that, "For the king of the south, the king of the north, shall return and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches." So there's our clue. It's during the time of these certain years that the evil worldwide monetary system is set up. And more than likely, it's during this time when the king of the south had killed many tens of thousands of the people of the kingdom of the north, and that the king of the north probably got the deadly wound during this battle here and yet lived. And now he had set up the monetary system, and he is raking in the dough from the world monetary system, so much so that he's able to build up a great army, and still have much riches left over. Mystery solved. Clue made. This is fantastic information here. So here we are. We're at the very tail end of the fourth king, and then we'll have the fifth king, and then we'll have the sixth king, and he has his monetary system set up. We're not very far away from that. Now, why? What happens between now and the time of the sixth king when he sets up the monetary system? What happens to where all the pieces are in place for the world to agree, yes, let's go ahead and set up the monetary system in honor to this king over here, second king of the kingdom of the north, as I call him, the sixth king. All right, we're going to learn about that as we go along. In Revelation chapter 6, we're going to be reading about the sixth seal event. And it is the worst worldwide catastrophic event since the flood of Noah's time. And that happens between about 2029 and 2033 is my guess. In that worldwide catastrophic event, the worst since the flood of Noah's time. But unlike Noah's time, there's going to be billions of survivors, billions of us that have survived that. And but that catastrophic event is what sets up the opportunity for that worldwide monetary system to be set up. But we as Christians, we know we're not supposed to be part of that. You saw that in the last clip. We're not supposed to be part of that. You get bad plagues if you accept that and use that monetary system. All right. So we know this gets set up around verse 13 or so. Let's go ahead and read verse 14. "And in those times shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fail. So the king of the north shall come and cast up a mount and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength to withstand. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land, by which by his hand shall be consumed." What's the glorious land? That's the land of Israel. So the king of the north, he goes over and attacks the kingdom of the south, and it's so successful that, look at verse 17, "And he shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. He wants to move his whole kingdom down into the kingdom of the south area, the glorious land area, Israel area, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do, and he shall give the daughter of women, and he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither before him. And after this he shall turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many. But a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease, and without his own reproach he shall cause it to turn upon him. In verse 19 is a very important one. Then he shall turn his face towards the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. Wow, wow. So this second king of the north, he goes on a conquering rampage, and he's attacking the kingdom of the south, and then he attacks isles, many isles, and he conquers one after the other after the other. And even though he's very successful in doing that, something happens, something spooks him, and he knows he has to run back to his kingdom for protection. And on the way back, he stumbles and falls, and he's not heard of ever again. Now, think about what's gone on. He had set up the worldwide monetary system. He controlled it. And because he controlled it and because he was running it, he was making a lot of money, so much money that he was able to build up this great army and still have much riches left over. And with that power, he went after the kingdom of the south, and he was making some great progress in conquering that. But then he decided, I'm going to go over and start conquering isles. And he conquered one after another after another. And the people around the world must be wondering, what have we created? Oh my gosh. He has control of the monetary system. He can click a button and he can shut down this country or that country from buying or selling. He has all power over the money, and he has a huge army, and he just can keep on conquering and conquering. Well, when something happens and he's not heard of, what happens? The other leaders of the monetary system take that opportunity to take away that king's power over the monetary system. They take that power away from the kingdom of the north because they abused it. And so now when this riser attacks this person, let's read verse 20. Then shall stand up in his estate a riser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. We're going to find out, okay, if he's not killed in anger nor in battle, how is he killed? We're going to read a few verses about that. But what you got to understand right here is this riser attacks this person. He does not have control of the monetary system. No, that was taken away. The other leaders took it away. Sometime after they found that the second king had vanished. He's not heard of. They go, well, this is our opportunity to take control of that monetary system and to stop that second king from attacking and one country after another after another. So that's what happens, okay? So now this seventh king, or the third king of the kingdom of the north, riser attacks. He does not have the power of the monetary system, and he gets killed within a few days. How? What's going on? Let's read it. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. So some vile person comes with an army or something, with a bunch of people, and he comes in and he kills the raiser of taxes person and the prince of the covenant, and he tells the people, don't worry, don't worry. They're just I'm here. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to be the new king. And he's able to convince them peaceably and with flatteries. And they go along with it. They don't give him the honor of being their king, but he still is their king. And that right there plays an important part that we get into when we go into Daniel chapter 7. So just remember, he comes in with an army and he conquers the king over here, and he's not given the honor of being the king, yet he is the king. All right, so now let's go ahead and read verse 23. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with the small people. So here in verse 23, it's a small people, but we'll read in verse 25, I believe, that he has a big army. So what does he do from verse 23 to have a small people to verse 25 to where he has a great army? All right, let's take a look here, verse 24. And he shall enter peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and the spoil and the riches. Yea, he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. So it's not the end of the world yet. Christ isn't coming back right now. No, there's still some time left, it says. Verse 25, and he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. But he shall not stand. This is the king of the south, shall not stand. Why? For they shall forecast devices against him. What type of devices? What's going on here? Verse 26. Yea, they that feed of the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. So the kingdom of the south, the king of the south, has a problem. He has people that betray him and helps the king of the north have success. But there's a roadblock. Look at over at 27. Both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table. But it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at a time appointed. Here we have another indication. It's not the return of Christ time. It's still appointed for later on. All right, look at what happens. Is that the king of the north, the vile person, and this kingdom of the south, they go to this negotiation, and the king of the north loses the negotiation. And he's told he has to take his army and go back to the kingdom of the north. And look over verse 28. Then shall he, the king of the north, return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land. All right, so what brought the king of the north to the negotiation table with the king of the south? I imagine that the king of the south wanted to go to the negotiation table and wanted to have help to be able to get the king of the north out of his kingdom. What brought the king of the north to the negotiation table? It's because the people, the leadership of the worldwide monetary system said, you get over here, you come over here, we're going to talk about this. And the king of the north has to do it, because if he doesn't, then the leadership of the monetary system can click the button and can shut down all the monetary revenue and everything from the fourth king of the north and the kingdom of the north. and the kingdom, and that vile person knows it. So he has to be compliant. And those leaders of the monetary system are telling him, you got to get out of the kingdom of the south area. Because if you don't, we're going to shut you down. Do you see the leverage that they have? And so the king of the north, he does that. But look at verse 29 and 30. At the time appointed, he, the king of the north, shall return and come towards the south, but it shall not be as the former, nor as a latter. For the ships of Chittim shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved and return, and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do, and he shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Oh my gosh. So he goes over to try and attack the kingdom of the south, and the ships of Chittim shut him down. And he can't fulfill that plan there. And here's the thing, is that the leaders of the monetary system were probably warning him, if you do this again, we're going to shut you down. Don't do it again. And yet he's doing it again. Why? What is his strategy? What was he thinking? We're going to get to that in verse 31. But what we do know in verse 30 is that this vile person has found people in the kingdom of the south that forsake the holy covenant. He finds people in the kingdom of the south that want to help him out. And they do. Now look at verse 31. And the arms shall stand on his side, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. Oh my gosh, this is so important. This is so important, because what we're learning about here is that there's people in the kingdom of the south that, well, the arms shall stand on his side. There's people in the military in the kingdom of the south that betray the kingdom of the south. And they help this vile person in the kingdom of the north to be successful, to the point that the king of the north is able to capture, pollute the sanctuary of strength. What's the sanctuary of strength? It is the military weaponry in Israel. And we're talking ammunition, we're talking bombs, we could be talking hazardous biomaterial, and we could be talking chemical warfare type of material. We could be talking about nuclear weapons, and no telling what type of new weapons that get developed between now and when that war is, which is probably in another 20 years or so. But now the other thing is that they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. Well, what is that about? Well, we learn in Revelation chapter 9 that this king, this evil king, we're now looking at the fourth king, the vile person, I call him the eighth king, that person gets the power of a massive army. It's an army of 200,000. If literal, that's an army of 200 million. And what we learn from Revelation chapter 9 is that army will kill 1/3 of the population. 1/3. Now, I'm sure that they're not going by and saying 1 to kill, 1 to kill. They're just massively killing a lot of people, and it ends up being about 1/3 of the population. And we also learn in Revelation chapter 9 that the type of people that they're killing are really wicked people. You look at the descriptions and it's obvious they're not Christians. And that makes all the sense in the world, because by the time that the monetary system is set up, by the time that this evil, vile person is going on this rampage, Christians have cleared out of the area by far, the vast majority of them are far, far away. Now, there's always going to be some Christians here and there, but the vast majority of them are clean out of the way there. And that's the great news, is that we're not going to have this massive army attacking all the Christians at that time over there. I don't see it. We're going to be far away, and we're going to be very, very well protected. But let's go ahead and look at, but here's the other thing about verse 31, is that this is the first verse that I can see where the vile person probably gets the power, seat, and authority of Satan. This is it. 31. It looks like he went from struggling, but now he's captured the sanctuary of strength, and he set up the abomination that maketh desolate. And I imagine that he has had the power, seat, and authority given to him during this time. Now let's go ahead and read a few more verses, and you'll see absolutely he has the power, seat, and authority of Satan. In verse 32, it says, "And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword and by famine or flame, by captivity and by spoil many days." Many days, here we have it. So we know that there's many days in this area here and we're not at the return of Christ yet. All right, in verse 34, Now when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with little hope, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. So here we are again. We're getting more clues that this is not near the time of the return of Christ. And the king shall do according to his will. This is a vile person. Look how evil he is. And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of God, and shall prosper until the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate he shall honor a god of forces, a god whom his fathers knew not, shall he honor with gold and silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange god, whom he shall acknowledge, and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen, and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries, and shall overflow and pass over. And he shall enter also into the glorious land. Again, that's the Israel area. And many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon. And he shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. So he gets defeated, and we're going to read about that. But where is he putting his palace at? The tabernacle of his palace is between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. What's the glorious holy mountain? That's the Mount of Olives. So what are the seas? That's the Mediterranean Sea and the Dead Sea. So he is here at the point to fight against Christ when Christ returns in power and glory. So let's read 2 verses from chapter 12. And at this time shall Michael stand up, that great prince, which standeth for the people, the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that slept in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to everlasting shame and everlasting contempt. So here we have evidence that this is leading up to the return of Christ in power and glory. The vile person gets the power, seat, and authority of Satan and goes to fight against Christ. This is that time. And what we also see is that Daniel chapter 11, it starts talking about those 4 kings, and from there on out, it just keeps on talking about the next king and the next king and the next king, and there's no major time gaps. There's always a prophetic person and or event going on during that whole time, from verse 2 all the way over to verse 45, and it reads like a story, one event after the other. No major time gaps at all. And we're able to find out which king was in power when the monetary system is set up. We're able to find out when the vile person gets the power, seat, and authority of Satan. This is incredible information, insights over here. And we're going to be able to use it here in our day, in our time, as we take a look at more information from Daniel chapter 8 and 7, and then other chapters out of the book of Revelation. And we're going to be able to connect these dots, and we're going to be able to see that there's going to be many people that's going to have a bright future, wonderful future. And I hope and pray that you, your family, your loved ones are among them. This is so important. So it's great to have you here. Great to be able to share this insights with you. And I look forward to sharing the next clip with you. You take care. God bless. Please like, comment, and share. Thank you.